Hello and welcome to the second part in a four-part webinar series from Mercury IT. Today we're going to be talking about streamlining your workflow. So what do I mean by that? It's streamlining your processes, getting a consistent approach and a consistent outcome to some of those processes that you may have done manually in the past. On top of that is having staff work on more revenue generating activities than those of the administrative tasks, so the filling out a timesheet or even of you filling out an expense form. So today we will talk through a specific scenario, but you can extend on that as we go through. My name is Paul. I am the operations manager here at Mercury IT, and like many of you, I try and get the most out of my staff and the most stuff out of doing as minimal as possible. So it's, to me, it's exactly that, focusing on the revenue generating activities rather than in the nitty gritty detail of the admin side of things. So I look at ways that I can increase the effectiveness of my staff. So getting them, in my case, solving more service requests and more incidents rather than filling out timesheets of the like. So I do believe this webinar has come at a perfect time. We talk about the uncertain times of the global pandemic that's happening, and many businesses are forced to change how they do business and how they interact. So if we think about cafes moving from more in-house dining to more takeaway, so I do recall an art production company that, rather than creating the big sets for, Broadway musicals and things like that, they're creating stand-up desks and student desks because they've got the big giant laser cutters that can do that. So rather than, turning their 40 staff to stand down and not being able to pay them, they're able to still generate a revenue. So they're able to just pivot very well. Obviously, I do have to acknowledge that there are some industries that aren't able to make that shift. So, we talk about the transportation, the airlines and tourism. Unfortunately, they are unable to make a shift in this working from home. But for those that are able to work from home, it's many industries could, or many parts of certain industries could, or at least some of those industries started to ask the questions on how can they work from home. There is an associated security risk, but we won't go into that today because that in itself is probably a whole webinar. But from this perspective, we are looking at is how can we track a process as it goes through, even if the staff member is not in front of you. So, we're used to in the past, I'll say in the past, that you could walk up to someone and see where they're at with a particular process or a particular step in the process. That becomes a little bit more difficult when they are working from their couch, from their home office, when they're not in front of you. So, I do think that this particular time has shown us that more people can work from home. And then not only that, some seem to have the ability and be able to thrive from working from home, whether that be the less commute time or a more relaxed environment. Maybe they don't have the distraction of the coworker next to them. I know from my staff, the commute time itself, a couple of hours each way a day or a couple of hours a day, suddenly they've got more time to spend at home or to spend doing the things they love doing. So, I must obviously applaud the big tech firms that were able to do this before now. So, we know for the likes of Microsoft, they've got quite a big working or a flexible working arrangement with their staff. And, they are reaping the rewards of that. So, reducing their operating costs. So not needing to have such a huge office or floor space, reducing electricity bills, reducing the internet charges and other things that make up your operating cost. For those that are a bit more environmentally conscious, we are aware that, this reduced people on the road has reduced our greenhouse gas emissions. We can take an example of China. We were able to see that when all their factories and everything shut down, the air quality of that of China increased, which was great for the period of time that it happened. So one thing we can agree on, that if we could increase revenue and reduce costs, we'd all do it in a heartbeat. It means more more money for the business, more money for the individual, as well as obviously the shareholders and stakeholders get a bigger return on their investment. Part of that is having the staff focus on those tasks that do generate the most revenue for the least cost. So, as I said at the top of this, so it's having them focus on the tasks that do generate outcomes. So, for my team, it's solving technical issues that generates outcomes for our clients. So it's getting people back on track sooner and generating more revenue. So part of that is one thing we can sort of realize is that as humans, we are designed and we can do complex creative thinking. So I don't necessarily just mean the arts like dance or photography or drama. I do mean even just the basics of creativity thinking. That's something machines at the moment can't do. But on the flip side, what machines can do is that mundane, repetitive stuff, and they can do it very well. So, as the slide says there, they do not tire, machines do not get bored or distracted, and they do not seek shortcuts. So, we know that many labor-intensive industries that, people by the time they are at retirement age, their back is wrecked or their knees are wrecked. That's something that machines don't have. Yeah, they'll break down, they need maintenance, but they can, a part can be replaced. So, it's getting our people back to doing that creative thinking, doing that problem solving, because that, in my opinion, does generate revenue for our clients and customers. So the scenario we are focusing on today is the onboarding of a new staff member. I do think this is very relevant to today. So I want you to try and think outside the box, and it's not just bringing a staff member into the office and onboarding them, but it's how can we extend our reach? So can we bring a staff member on in a different region? So Sunshine Coast, far north Queensland, a different state like South Australia or ACT. Can we bring them on in a consistent manner that they have a great experience when interacting with your business for the first time? So we know that when we bring a staff member on that, day one, and I'm going to put this a bit politely, they're effectively useless. They're trying to absorb all the information. They're trying to absorb your culture, the way you do things, your processes. So depending on the role, if it's only got a few duties, yeah, it might only take them 3 months to get up to speed. If it's a complex role that has many duties, it could be 12 months or more. We know that large companies such as banking, finance, insurance, because of the restriction of the duties and because they have these systems and processes in place, they can get people connected and up to speed a lot quicker. So they are generating value for that organization a lot quicker. But what if we can take some of the aspects of that and translate to smaller businesses? Would that give us a competitive advantage over the next company down the road? It could do. If you could bring on staff and have them generating value for your business quicker, you could effectively get to market a lot quicker as well. On top of that, what if you could get a staff member up to speed before their probation period is out? Now, we all know that probation period is there to evaluate the staff member and for the staff member to evaluate your company. But what if you could quickly identify if they are the right fit for your company? And as I alluded to earlier, what if the staff member did work remotely? Would you need to get a bigger office? Would you need to get a bigger internet connection? This is where workflow automation can help. So today we are specifically looking at the Microsoft Power Automate product and how that can integrate within the onboarding process. So it's directing our expensive human capital focus on those higher value return tasks. So rather than having your hiring manager or your HR department sitting there flicking off the 4 different emails to the different teams in order to get a new employee set up. So, sending an email off to IT, off to HR, off to a learning and development system, you can have them fill in one form, hit submit, and let the workflow do the rest. On top of that, it helps us deliver a consistent onboarding experience. So whether they are in the office or whether they are remote, they get the exact same experience. You know, I can honestly say that I've had staff employed both remotely and in the office, and they have initially had a different experience. And that's one thing as a business we turned around and looked at. On top of that, if you do have a consistent approach, you can reduce the amount of rework that you need to do. So it's filling in one form, making sure you get all the information into that form so that people aren't coming back to you asking you for additional information up. Additionally, leveraging additional Microsoft products such as Sway and Stream to deliver content and training. So if you've got the opportunity there to record some videos on how to use a particular internal system, delivering that to the new staff member where they can watch it at their pace, they can go back and rewatch, because we know that each person delivers training differently, unfortunately. You can have tasks assigned to internal and external providers. It could be as simple as them acknowledging through an email or through a web form or a button. And the interfaces are made very simple. So they are drag and drop. As you can see here, you just drag the piece in, and whether it be a yes, then no condition, you know, what if you could program it automatically to, when a new staff member comes on board, that their start date is Monday, that a group email or a group Teams chat goes out and welcomes them to the company, and you're not relying on an individual to send that email out. Extending past that, it can interact with obviously Microsoft systems very easily. So if you've got Azure AD, you're not relying on your IT provider to set them up with a user account. This form can do it. You can interact with a few others. So if you've got things like Microsoft Dynamics 365 or a different tenancy within that, you can use this product in order to automate that onboarding of a user, as well as those checks and balances to make sure that that staff member has completed training or they have signed their payroll forms or filled in their superannuation forms. But the question gets asked, well, that's all well and good, but what about my legacy systems? Microsoft did buy a product around the robotic process automation, or RPA, and the beauty of this product is it allows Microsoft Power Automate to integrate with those legacy systems. You can start to automate those systems through screen recording. So you get an interface that comes up and you record clicks and keyboard strokes, and then that flows into that Power Automate product and extends on what you've already done within the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 stack. This is obviously the bridge between those local and cloud-based legacy systems, and you know, as it's a stopgap. So as the system becomes either a software as a service-based system or they develop an API, you can use robotic process automation, and the beauty is month-to-month cost, so that if they do develop that API in a month's time or in a feature update, you can just turn it off and use the API in order to complete the same task. As I said, I've only scraped the surface of what this product can do. A lot of it will come down to is, can you document your process and start small? Start with one process, document that, workflow that, and then build on it. There are a few videos online, but obviously feel free to reach out to Mercury IT to discuss further. The next webinar series is coming up next week, so on the 28th of May at 10 a.m, presented by Martin. Power up your business with business intelligence. Really interesting webinar. Please do tune in. But obviously, if you have any questions in the meantime, please reach out to us. Our details are there on your screen. Thank you very much.